Real quick, the only ask I could ever have of you guys is to help spread the word so we can help more women lose body fat, build muscle, reach their goals, and feel insanely confident. And the only way we can do that is if you rate, review, and share this podcast. So the single thing I ask for you to do is if you could leave a review. It will take you 10 seconds and it will mean the absolute world to me and may change the world of someone else. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I can hardly freaking believe it, but we are here. Episode 200 of the Macro Hour podcast with your host, your girl, Nikkiey Stott. And on this podcast, we talk about mindset, methodologies, and tactics that will help you lose body fat, build muscle, be strong, and feel insanely confident. My friends, we have hit a huge freaking milestone. And I just want to take a moment and express some sincere gratitude and just say a huge thank you to all of you amazing listeners for being with me on this journey. Whether you've been here since A1 day one on January 9th of 2023 when this podcast went live, or you just hopped on board in one of the later episodes or recent episodes, no matter where you came into this journey with me, this podcast wouldn't be what it is without your support. To date, you guys, I'm reading the stat live here, 649,438 downloads since this podcast went live. That's huge. And so to celebrate the 200th episode, we're going to look back at some of the most incredible insights and powerful moments from season 2's guest interviews. So we've had some awesome leading experts within the industry of fitness come on in season 2, and they were dropping some knowledge bombs about everything from mindset shifts to metabolism to fitness breakthroughs to so many things and more. So buckle up for this highlight episode of the best advice, inspiring moments, and a few amazing insights along the way. And again, thank you guys so freaking much. This podcast wouldn't be what it is without you amazing people on this journey with me. Appreciate y'all. Let's dive into the episode. Lindsay is not just a fitness coach. She is a storyteller of personal transformation, and I'm super excited to have her on the show today. I can't wait to hear about the competitive fitness that you did to overcoming your own health challenges, your journey into understanding hormones and gut health. It's inspiring and also transformative and informative. So today she's going to share her highlights with us and her balanced approach to health and wellness. Lindsay, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, Nikki. A lot of my story was built on insecurity and being afraid to take the next step. And so I really wanted to get certified as a coach or a trainer, but I was really insecure with how I looked. And I felt like I did not look the part of what a trainer is, quote, supposed to look like, right? Mm. And I feel like nowadays that's, people go more for the healthy approach. But I'm talking 2004 or 5 when I just thought you needed to be lean and ripped all the time in order to call yourself a fitness trainer, right? And so I decided to do it. I decided to go for it. I did end up getting a job at a gym for a little bit just to get more in-person experience connecting with people, knowing how to motivate them, knowing how to push them, that kind of thing. I feel like a lot of that experience really comes from being with people in person, and then you can translate that to online, but oftentimes you can't just start that online. Do you know what I mean?
Totally, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. And you need to have the personal experience, in my personal opinion, so that you know how to work with those clients in a totally different arena when it comes to the online space.
Yeah. And then once you know how to do it, it's super easy to adapt to online, but I feel like it's hard to just jump in online if you've never really done that in person, or at least harder. Not saying you can't do it.
Well, welcome, Dr. Cabral. I'm super excited for you to be here. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here. Yeah, so for the first half of the book, The Rain Barrel Effect, the first half is how we get sick and why. Because it's important to know why you got sick in the first place, or even just why you feel lower energy, lower mood, lower ambition, lower drive, lower libido, all the lowers, right? Like, why do you feel that way? Because it doesn't happen just because of age. So I got sick at 17 years old. It took to 27 to get well. And it's because I didn't have the information that we have today. Okay, but now I'm in my mid 40s. I have way more energy and feel way better than I did today, even as a teenager before I got sick. So why is that? Well, as a teenager, I still had allergies, digestive issues, food sensitivities. I had like heavy metals. I had all these issues that I didn't know about. Okay, so we figure out what are those things that are keeping us from becoming well. And we can find those in at-home lab testing, of course, as well. And the second half of the book is how to get well. That's the de-stress protocol we use in my practice. It's diet, exercise, stress reduction, tox removal, rest, and sleep protocols. It is emotional balance. It's scientifically backed supplement protocols, and it's a success mindset. So if we look at that, stress, emotional balance, mindset, that's 3 out of the 8, are all dedicated to essentially reducing stress and balancing overall healthy emotion in our life. And it's because it's so important, because you can weaken your immune system, throw off your stress, increase stress hormones like cortisol, lower progesterone, especially in women, lower testosterone for men if they get more stressed, and lower thyroid in both men and women just from stress alone. Plus, it can cause gut-based issues, slow digestion, which can lead to potentially SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, with ileocecal valve dysfunction, all these different things. And it all comes from stress. So when we look at that, there's actually a name for it called the neuroendoimmune system or function. So the nervous system, that's stress basically on the body, that's fight or flight, can cause a disruption in hormones, that's the endocrine system, endo, which then affects our immune system that can lead to autoimmune or other factors. So it's pretty profound. And again, conventional medicine will never talk about stress being implicated with real dis-ease in the body.
And today she's here to share her journey, drop some wisdom on staying fit and mentally strong, and just chat about making a real impact. So I'm super excited.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
What changes or like what developments do you hope to see in the mental health space in the coming years?
The goal is to have fewer people suffering, lower the suicide rates, make people feel safe about having the conversation about going to someone when they don't feel well, making people more joyful in life, happier. I mean, that's really it. Because then, I mean, think about it, like one person is happier and more joyful, and then they have that effect on another person and another person. So literally our mental health can just spread across the world where people, because we are energy. And when there's people with that energy that's you're not vibing with and it's negative, it spreads onto the other people. So it's really just a goal of number one, saving lives, bringing more joy in the world, and making the world a happier, healthier place.
Philippa is a master of movement, blending, physiotherapy with Pilates and yoga to help women feel their best. She's also the brain behind Precision, where she's all about empowering through exercise. And with over 30 years in the game, right, Philippa? 30 years.
Yeah, I'm afraid so.
Well, she's got some incredible insights to share here. So welcome to the show, Philippa. I'm excited that you're here.
Thank you, Nikki. I'm really excited to be here with you and your listeners today. Thank you. So for people who want to venture into moving more when maybe they haven't done it before, then I think Pilates can be a really great entry point, because we can learn about how the body feels when it moves, the different movement directions, and also at the heart of all of that, we've got the core activation. And so that stability that comes from having the core switched on with every movement that we make, and moving at a slow, relatively slow, measured pace in the first instance as well, so that you're not throwing yourself about in a crazy fashion. You're much less likely to hurt yourself in doing this. And actually, what I say to people, and maybe I shouldn't, is that, these skills that I teach you, you can take on now into every other part of your life, whether it's a sport that you play, whether it's another hobby in the gym, whether it's just family out and about, cycling, walking, hiking, whatever it is, gardening, these skills, this ability to really connect with what your body feels like, how it should feel when it's doing it properly, what I mean?
Today, we have a special guest in the house, or, virtually speaking, Olivia Eve, the host of a super popular podcast, For You from Eve, with over 200 episodes and a whopping 3 million listeners. That's so freaking cool, Olivia. Olivia's podcast is all about self-love, self-growth, and living your best life. She's been crushing it in Spotify's top education charts, helping women everywhere navigating their self-development journey in a totally down-to-earth way. And so everyone listening, get comfy and let's dive into some real talk with the one and only Olivia Eve. What's up, girl? I'm so stoked you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. We just recorded together for my show, so we've already kind of gotten comfortable with each other. We're in the convo now, and I'm so excited to record for you now. I did this series called Evemas, where every day for the month of December, 2 years ago, I started it. I was uploading an episode every single day. And this was during final season. I was absolutely miserable, sleeping at 4 or 5 a.m. It was rough, but it was so worth it, because that was around the same time that I started trending. And I was wow, this is insane that wait, the work I put in is actually doing something. And the beginning is the hardest part, because you don't see any results in the beginning. So you're why am I doing this? Why am I working hard? Why am I posting and putting in all these hours if nothing comes from it? And then one day you have that moment. I remember the first time I saw that I was on the charts, I told my sister, I was I need to start taking this podcasting thing seriously. I've been doing it for 6-7 months now. Nothing's come from it. So I was let me book a photo shoot in the city to actually create cover art for myself. Maybe I was doing it for a year at this point. And we're at the photo shoot. The photo shoot was me and my sister in a studio we rented in New York, literally just the two of us taking pictures on an iPhone. It was nothing serious. And as soon as we're done taking pictures and I made this mark of I'm going to actually do this now and go all in, I look at my phone and I see that I'm trending #1 UK top education podcast. And I was what? I was freaking out. And I was I can't believe the day that I decide I'm going all in. I've been putting in all this work. I needed to pay off. It paid off. And I think when you see results, you get so motivated. So it's just be consistent and just know that if you're doing it right and you're doing it for the right reasons, you will see results at the end of it.
Today, we are super excited to have a special guest on. Her name is Louise Digby.
Thank you so much for having me. And you did get my surname correct. But what I typically find for women who are between 35 to 55, perimenopausal, menopausal, they need some carb to fuel their thyroids, to fuel their hypothalamus. Otherwise, your metabolism is going to slow down, and it can be a very stressful impact on your body and can actually inhibit your weight loss and your well-being. I think everyone has a different range where they feel best. So, I'm not a fan of saying you need this many carbohydrates per day. And I think it varies based on where you are in your menstrual cycle. And it varies depending on how much exercise you do and the type of exercise that you're doing. So again, it's very individual, but I am very much, about finding the amount that is enough for you without it being too much that you're, causing your blood sugars to be racing high and low.
Thank you so much for being here. And everybody listening, please join me in welcoming Autumn to the show.
Oh, thank you, Nikki. Such a pleasure to be here. We love what you're doing and are just really excited about this podcast. So thank you for having me.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier at the beginning what you were experiencing personally was the gut issues that you were experiencing, you had, and then that it translated to the mental. I mean, that's our second brain down there, the gut.
Yeah, they actually call it that. It's your entire nervous system. It is our second brain, and they're connected too by the vagus nerve, right? So they used to think that messages primarily went from the brain to the gut, but now we know just as many, if not more messages come directly from the gut to our brain. And then our gut actually is a place where, our serotonin is created. some of our dopamine is created. And also it houses, 80% of our immune system is here. And when that immune system is out of whack, or we're eating foods that are creating inflammation, that immune activation, that inflammation can go to the brain and can negatively impact the brain function. And so, yeah, this is like a two-way street of communication all the time. And I sincerely believe that if I had understood this connection and been able to address my gut issues as a youngster, my parents would have had a much easier time with me in my teens.
So I'm excited though to have Jess on here and dive in and explore her journey, her insights. Jess, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Nikki. I love your podcast. I'm excited to be here. But you know what? A lot of women feel awesome during their period week. In fact, I usually say like after day 2, you can feel amazing if your hormones are in the right place. And it can be a really good time to do some sprints, not saying long runs, but sprints. I like to go on a treadmill and run for 30 seconds and then walk for 30 seconds, run for 30 seconds, and just do that for 10 minutes. And that can help to release some of that inflammation and release those endorphins, which can actually help offset some of the discomfort and cramping. And so you can do something like that. You can also strength train. If you're listen to your body, if you're feeling a little bit more fatigued, just go a little bit lighter on the weights, or don't do progressive overload that week. But still, you can meet yourself where you're at. You don't have to just stop strength training. I think it's important to strength train all month long. And so I am a huge fan of it. The first few days, you might want to listen to your body. I usually say like the first day when you're bleeding, I have a great cycle and I don't feel like working out on the first day. So I like to go for a nice long walk. Yeah. Same for you.
Yeah. And then I usually always feel like, oh my God, I'm ready to go by day 2. Like I feel
totally
so strong, ready to rip. Like give me all the weight. Quick break. If you're finding this episode helpful so far, it would mean a lot if you could hit pause for just a second, leave a quick rating or a review, or share it with someone who could benefit from it. Your support helps more women discover these tools to build muscle, lose fat, and feel confident. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey with me. Everybody listening and tuning in, get ready for an eye-opening conversation that just might change the way that you view this essential mineral. Dr. Dean, Carolyn Dean, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nikki. I'm really happy to be here because as I see it, and as I've said to you, you're the macro girl, I'm the micro girl. And I think we should get together. Any magnesium will have a positive effect. So I'll recommend any magnesium, not one over the other, except mine, of course, which is fully absorbed. But I think the people that come to me, I've got over 100,000 customers, and I think they approach me because I'm a medical doctor and a naturopath, and they come with the most horrendous stories of illnesses and being on 10 to 20 drugs. And, they really want to know what to do with their health and, to slowly build up magnesium and then watch as they're able to diminish their drug intake is just incredible.
Welcome, Risa, to this journey. I'm excited to understand, your insights, your knowledge, and you just pour into our community here. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Nikki. It's great to be here. So we get carbs from fiber, right? So if we stick to protein, fat, and fiber, and we talked about the protein, right? There's those animal proteins. There's also plant-based proteins. So that's beans, nuts, seeds. Again, I'm very customized to the person. So if they've got SIBO, let's say they have chronic bloating, it's not something I would recommend eating all those beans because it's a lot of lectins. It's going to be very difficult for them to digest it. And then there's the fat. So these are good fats. These are the good oils. So the avocado oil, coconut oil, and olive oil. Olives are great. Coconut is great. Avocado is great. Eggs are great. So those are really good fats. And then your vegetables, your fiber is all vegetables. Those are your plants. And all those plants have carbohydrates. All of them do. Every food has a carbohydrate with the exception of animal protein and liquid fats, so like oils. They don't have any carbs. So you're getting enough carbs there. Now, if you need more carbs, let's say you're a premier athlete or you're running 10 miles 3 times a day or 3 times a week, I would say throw in some sweet potato or yams for sure. If you don't want to lose weight, then absolutely you need some carbohydrates if you're burning them. Or if you're building muscle, we need to have some carbohydrates. If you don't have, if you want to lose weight, then we've got storage, right? So if we have carbs in storage, then you're just going to pull from the storage unit. You don't need to eat carbs, right?
Welcome to our WarriorBabe interview with our veteran WarriorBabe, Lisa. Lisa has been a WarriorBabe for about 9 months now, right?
Mm-hmm. I've just been on so many different, my own journeys, of one fad diet to the next, the next year something new comes out. And I'm like, oh, well, that's why that wasn't working because I was eating this, and then it was like, oh, well, I'm not eating that. It was always this, eat this, don't eat that, do this, don't do that. And, intermittent fasting and keto and, these are all the magic things, and I'm like, well, if it's the magic thing, why do people keep going off of it? Why do they keep restarting it? If this is the magic, thing. And I was like, why can't I ever stick with anything, And it was like, because I miss carbs. Like, that's what would sidetrack me. Yeah. And, so I stalked you for like a year, and I just watched what you would say. And I was like, so many times, like just bells would go off. I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, that's exactly how I'm thinking, like, how does she know how I'm thinking? And, so after I trusted you before I knew you. Yeah. And, and I reached out to you several times and you responded back directly to me. So I was like, okay, she's real and, I can do this. Let's dive into some amazing insights with Morgan. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Nikki. I'm excited to be here. When that happens and you spike your insulin, that puts you in a fat storage mode. And so high levels of insulin will drive fat storage. Low levels of insulin will facilitate fat burning. And that's not to mean that calories don't matter. Low insulin calories are still calories. And if your goal is to lose body fat, you will have to be in an energy deficit. But from my experience in coaching and personal experience, that's going to be easier to do on a lower insulin diet. So low insulin doesn't necessarily mean low carb if you're doing a ton of exercise and stuff like that, but usually it does. So insulin resistance does contribute to obesity, but it's not always accompanied by obesity. And there's some really interesting statistics out there on TOFI. So thin on the outside, fat on the inside. And I think this is another benefit of insulin testing, because if your physician is just looking at your waist circumference or your body weight, you may be in the normal range. You may look thin on the outside, but actually have fat around your organs on the inside. And when we test for insulin, we can catch that more effectively than if we're just looking at body weight or waist circumference. And that actually the same goes for metabolic healthy obesity.
So, Lisa, welcome to the show.
Hello. How are you? It's really an honor to be here with you today. So my story before WarriorBabe was that I struggled with weight loss my whole life. And I was never super heavy, but I was also never where I ever wanted to be. I always struggled like with 15 to 20, extra pounds. And I tried everything. I mean, from the time going back as far as I can remember, I mean, definitely maybe late teens, early 20s. I just did everything. I mean, every single fad diet that came along. And, I know we talked about this a long time ago, but, if it was the grapefruit diet, I was doing the grapefruit diet. If it was the elimination diet of don't eat this, don't eat that, I did everything. And every time a diet would come along, it had so much hype to it. And it was like, oh, well, this is it. This is the magic one. And, I would do it. And I'm a real determined person. And when I put my mind to something, I'm going to do it. So I'd always go in and I'd lose the weight. And then I'd, go off of it because it's not attainable. I mean, the cabbage diet, you're too young for the cabbage diet, but some women out there remember the cabbage diet. You can only be on that for so long. And, so I just did from diet to diet to diet. And nothing ever worked. And, I didn't realize at the time how destructive what I was doing was. Not only, mentally, but physically, what I was doing to my body. And I did this throughout my 20s, throughout my 30s, my 40s, up until I think I was just turning 50 when I started with you. When I saw you on Instagram, and this was WarriorBabe before it was WarriorBabe, it was you, and you resonated with me. You were younger than me, but what you said made perfect sense to me. Talking about the macros, talking about just signs that your body was unhealthy and just symptoms of stuff, and talking about, just so many factors there. And I was like, this makes so much sense, because I've always worked out and I've always eaten correctly, but I knew nothing about macros. I didn't know how to put that together. I had always eaten within, calories. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to reach out. And I reached out, and you reached right back out, and we just kind of hit it off. And I was like, you know what, this is my person.
Please join me in welcoming Jenna. Jenna, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nikki. What an honor it is to be here with you and with the WarriorBabe community. I love this community. So thanks for having me on.
WarriorBabe through and through. Of course, you're so welcome. I'm so stoked for you to share all of the things that you're going to share and the value you're going to bring to this episode today.
Well, when I saw it and started doing a little bit of research, I was very skeptical, because I had tried everything, just like many women listening right now, tried keto, tried restrictive dieting, everything under the sun, except for macros. I never had heard about tracking your macros before. I thought that was something that people just did that are in the gym all the time, the bodybuilders. I didn't know regular people like me are supposed to track. So I just, I was very skeptical, because I have literally tried everything. And, I was like, all right, I'm just going to just go for it and give it a shot and see what happens. And that's why I in fact, the person who called me to start up everything, I missed their phone call, and it was like a bit of a rough start, because, you're so busy. And so but it just, I think God knew I needed this. I knew I needed this. And it was just one day, one step at a time. I somehow started to get the hang of it.
Everybody that's listening, please join me in welcoming Carrie, who is here to share her journey, her challenges, her successes, and all decked out in WarriorBabe gear and the nails. Show them the nails, Carrie. Yeah,
gotta be on brand. Gotta be on brand.
Welcome to the show, Carrie.
Thank you so much. So my name is Carrie Kraft. I am 52. I'll be 53 on October 3rd. Gifts accepted and welcome. I am from Topeka, Kansas.
Wow. Okay. So we got a Kansas babe in the house. Let's go.
That's right. A breakthrough with WarriorBabe. And I don't know if it's the daily systems I've put in place every morning, with taking the time I need to get all the things ready for the day, with scripture reading, prayer, getting my water, taking an early walk, eating my meals, and knowing exactly what I'm doing throughout the day with my meals, that it never crossed my mind. Because food is for energy and life. It's not to tamper down any feelings. And so it never crossed my mind to eat my feelings.
That is huge.
Huge.
Today, joining us is Mahal and Marav.
You got it.
Yes.
Don't tell them you've been practicing in the last 5 minutes to pronounce our names.
Oh, my secret's out. Yes, that's very true. And I'm really excited to have these ladies on. They are the co-founders of Women And I'm sure, as I just said that, so many of you guys have heard this brand in the space. They're experts in metabolic health.
Lumen Journey?
Lumen Journey.
12 years.
12 years.
But we started to explore a lot about women metabolism in the last 2 years.
But was to enable everyone, especially women, to have the ability to measure their metabolism in the palm of their hands in order to better understand how their metabolism is changing and take smarter decisions and overcome and manage those symptoms such as weight gain.
Nikki, I think we need first to understand that there's a very strong correlation or connection between metabolic flexibility. So it's like our metabolism, the body ability to rely on fat stores to produce energy and to easily shift into carb burn following, for example, meal consuming containing carbohydrate. And once you understand that metabolic flexibility relates to different chronic diseases, such as, like Michali mentioned, obesity and insulin resistance, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, neurodegenerative disease. It even plays a crucial role in inflammation and actually determine our lifespan and longevity.
Hey, really quick, before you go, I have one small favor to ask. If this episode brought you value or sparked something in you, take just a moment to hit that review button. Your rating and review make all of the difference, helping more women discover the tools they need to transform the fitness and their confidence. It takes less than a minute, but it can change the path of someone else's journey. Thank you so much for leaving that review. I appreciate you so much.